Welcome to wasmCloud Wednesday for September the 1st. This week we don't have a demo, so I'm going to go and hand it off to Steve, and we can go ahead and take a look at where we are on the board for the OTP release. Steve?
Yeah, hello. Here we go. Look, everything's done. All right. So we've been working on the OTP release, which we've called the .50. We also call it the MVP. And that's the first release that has the wasmCloud host implemented in Elixir and new Smithy-based code generation, a new web dashboard, and a JavaScript host that runs in a browser. Right now, so we're using ZenHub here to organize the issues. The stuff that's left is really tidying things up. There's some documentation, there's testing, there's automating the CI. The issues are spread across 15 different repositories, but three of the big ones are in the wasmCloud repo. One of them is this one here, to review and update GitHub Actions. I need to move some of these Zoom windows out of the way so I can scroll. All right, well, so this is one of the sort of overview that has all of the different repos where we need to update the GitHub Actions to automate things. There's also one for documentation. Something I wrote about in the Slack posting in wasmCloud General last night was about the new Lattice Controller that Kevin just started working on. It's a great piece of technology that's going to help make the whole wasmCloud Lattice more scalable and more reliable. So I don't know, does anybody have any questions about any part of this, or what I could say, just to summarize, this week and next week we'll be finishing up the documentation and the testing and the automation. We're also working on some tutorials, getting started tutorials that are going to be on wasmcloud.dev. So you'll start seeing that roll out in the next few days as well. So we're getting pretty close to opening the gates and saying, please jump on it. We'd love feedback. I know some of you are already playing with it, and we love to get the feedback and hear about what you're doing, and we'd be happy to offer assistance to make sure you have a successful getting started.
Yeah, we've got some brainstorming time carved out later today, but with all the new capabilities, we're really trying to think through what's the demo we can give that really drives the aha and oh wow moments with the new capabilities. So some of the early script ideas we have are, starting with a QR code that lets people, open this up on browsers, or a copy here link so that they join a piece of the network. It's intended to be sort of an interactive demo that we would do. And then proceed into, showing that this code that they're now running independently as a web browser host has joined this broader, distributed application and how it can participate. So if anybody has any conceptual ideas, I think that's wonderful. Honestly, David and Stuart, for the demo that you guys are doing, you guys have put so much effort into it, and it's already open source. I would ask about the possibility of pulling this in as a formal demo, into wasmCloud core that we can build around. And that's probably an idea I should have socialized with you privately before trying to put you on the spot. So we can talk about it later, or if you want to comment now, we can kind of discuss it now a bit.
Definitely up for that, for sure. Yeah, the talk that the synopsis includes the declarative declaration of lattice configuration, but if we get there, and that's great. But if we don't, we can always pull it back to the demo that we did to the client, which is great in its own right. So, but for sure, we'll contribute that back, definitely.
Okay, that would be incredible. I think the better together story with wasmCloud and WebAssembly running inside of Kubernetes is such a great starting point, because it's the bridge to what's next, which is running it outside of Kubernetes as well. And it sort of gets people on the path to using their existing infrastructure, their existing tests. So those are things that when I've talked to people about, hey, how could we get a POC going, that is seems to be a fertile starting point there. So we could definitely pick that up offline, Stuart and David and team. I've been following the progress on it, and obviously you guys drove the prioritization of the new repo that I just added you guys to, the wasmCloud Kubernetes operator. And you guys are both maintainers on that. If you need admin, just let me know. I'll just bump you up there as well, so that we can continue to leverage Kevin's work around the Lattice controller and the new declarative states and all that, and all the design on that work. We're towards the tail end. We are thinking about scheduling a launch party for the third week of September. And do a PR. I'd love to do it as a combined team bourbon tasting. So I likely will just put that out with some invites and try to schedule it at a time so it's not too late for the folks in the UK or too early for the folks on the West Coast. But I think one of you are going to, or you're both going to end up either drinking early or late, and I'll maybe try to drink at the right time. We can be the Goldilocks of bourbon. This one's too late, this one's too early, this one's right at 5 o'clock. So watch for an invite there. And our plan is to roll out and do a demo, this kind of grab your attention demo, where we start in the web browser and sort of slide people down the stack here for that. It would likely be some of the similar demos that we do for our KubeCon talk. We have a main talk and a WASM Day presentation as well. So roadmap, does that kind of cover what the next few weeks look like here from team? Steve, Kevin, are there other things we should highlight? All right, I think that's a pretty good what's next. Jonathan, did you want to do a quick intro? I know you were getting to a new location.
A little underprepared. Hi, my name is Janita. I got introduced to this because I was curious about, so I'm working at the current role, I'm actually doing some extensions to Kubernetes and to Istio. And to do the extensions to Istio, I was actually looking at ProxyWasm, and I saw that it is a new standard that's available for Istio and writing stuff in through the event handlers. And I saw that the ecosystem was a little bit weak, so I kind of reached out to somebody that I knew, who was Ali Owens. I guess at some point in time, she'd actually worked on this team before. And she said, hey, why don't you talk to these guys and see what's actually going on? So I think I don't actually have a very good feel for exactly, I know wasmCloud is everybody's actually kind of in it. And from what I see, actually, there isn't too much of an overlap between ProxyWasm and wasmCloud, but it still is curious, and I'm interested to hopefully contribute. I think it's an interesting space because I think it's kind of a strong competitive idea to Kubernetes, and for doing stuff in, cloud, virtual cloud, whatever you actually want to call it from there. So, yeah.
I think the embedded use case for WASM as basically an embeddable host to run other people's untrusted code is an obvious slam dunk. And I think in the KubeCon EU keynote that I gave, that was actually one of the things that I highlighted was not just Envoy but other projects looking at adopting it. It's what the folks out of Germany, what are they? What's the name of their? They're doing. They've got a new open source project where they're doing mission controllers in using WebAssembly as the execution engine. So that would be another good reference point for you as well. And so I think it's an incredible use case. And I've often thought about how we could help facilitate wasmCloud's use there if we feel like it's a good fit and something worth pursuing. So I'll make sure if you can, Janitha, did I pronounce it correctly? Janitha, if you can drop your email address to me privately as a DM, I'll add you to our Slack, and maybe we could pick up the discussion there around some ways that we could collaborate if it works out. And if not, we'd love to. We also spend some time after call just introducing wasmCloud to you and where we see our fit and stuff like that.
Sounds good.
Great. So quick community news. So the tentative bourbon tasting OTP launch, 3rd week of September. Yesterday, there was an event out of Germany called Wasm Day. I will link it in the notes. Much of the content was mixed German and English, but it looked like there was some great talks there. We did a big announce through last week. I think everybody saw about wasmCloud joining CNCF. So there's about a dozen or so articles. I'll also link in the notes if folks want to review those. But the 2 articles on the new stack were pretty representative. Mary Branscombe and the other ones. We were on the wasmCloud or the New Stack podcast last week for an hour, a little over an hour, which was great as a roundtable. So if anybody wanted to check that out, I think it was worthwhile. Matt Butcher was there and a handful of other folks from the community. And then looking ahead, we've got Wasm Day and KubeCon NA both scheduled for the week of October 11th. wasmCloud is posted. wasmCloud Day is posted. You have till September 3rd to register for your speaker badges if you haven't done that yet. I can go in and check. Stuart and David, I know you guys have a talk, but just make sure you get that registration done or it drives another process on our side. Right now, the plan is that that KubeCon is open. We had the marketing call earlier today for all of KubeCon. There are approximately a little over 100 talks scheduled, about half of which are scheduled to be in person. Right now, they don't think that California or the city of LA will shut down the event. And so they are expecting around 4,000 attendees. I think most of the 4,000 attendees will be vendors or people that are there. So I don't expect the floor to be busy. On our side, we're going to try to double down and invest on the online presence and the online booth and the online experience. We're still working on a plan for live talks if they need to go virtual, how those presentations will happen, which is something that kind of worries me a little bit, but we still got lots of time. We still got 6 weeks before showtime on that. Any questions on community events? Okay, I think we could have kind of a quick meeting today. Kevin, are there any RFCs or work you want to highlight? Maybe quick discussion on the Lattice work, that Lattice Controller stuff that you have been working on?
There's not really all that much update on the Lattice Controller stuff. We're actively designing it now and have started writing a little bit of code here and there. Right now I'm just sort of juggling the work on the Lattice Controller with the work to button up all of our documentation stuff and get the .50 release out the door.
I could do a call out. Are there any particular demos people would like to see? And I know Liam asked about demos, but I'm referring to sample code in any particular areas you're really interested in, or capability providers that you're struggling with or thinking about that would be useful to add to our collection of sample code.
We contributed a to-do actor, which we're going to rewrite for the OTP release and resubmit back. So that would be one actor. But yeah, I suppose they all need doing really.
Okay. Steve, I think we'll, I think we're going to be driving a bit of the demonstration stuff. And we've kind of broken it down into, I think, 3 buckets of themes. There's the new wash work, there's the new WebAssembly host, washboard work, I'm sorry, the WebAssembly host, and then all the new capabilities that OTP brings to the table, which is pretty extensive. But those are, I think, the 3 buckets of things that we'd highlight from the release perspective. Kevin, were there other things that you thought should be at the top of the list that we would try to demo?
Not that I can think of offhand.
Okay. Well, I guess open floor for any other issues that we'd want to discuss today. I think we're all kind of heads down on really trying to get the OTP release out the door. Kaushik, anything you want to raise? Oh, Kaushik, do you want to talk a little bit about the React stuff that you were pulling together on the on the JavaScript host?
Yep. So the JavaScript host library is ready to use inside of like any kind of browser apps. The only caveat is you need to use Webpack 5 or like ESBuild, pretty much one of the modern bundlers. And I put that note in there inside the README. And that's just because there's a WebAssembly file that needs to get copied over to the final distribution output. But otherwise, yeah, I've even got like a simple example in there now. So feel free to use it, test it out, open up issues, let me know of any feedback, and I can continue to add more features to it too.
The sort of meta idea we discussed that's either the worst idea we've ever had or one of the best is that maybe we'll put the JavaScript host inside of Washboard. So you could run, wasmCloud in the wasmCloud admin panel, or possibly in the future, even have the run the host and the host and the host, that sort of recursive nature there. So I asked Brooks to just think about that a little bit. Steve had an idea about having an interactive debugger, maybe in Washboard would be a neat a thing, so that if you wanted to debug something, you could pull it into the Washboard admin panel and kind of step through something or something along those lines. So I love all those ideas, and it feels like we're really thinking about the developer experience. But we'll try to get some of that stuff curated out into a backlog of maybe roadmap ideas.
And Liam, I'm actually trying to pull that library into the Washboard dashboard right now. The library works. It's just there's some build issues that I'm working out right now with Burks.
All right.
So.
All right. Well, I mean, I think we may want to think about what else we can do with the Konami code, in Washboard. Maybe this unlocks a new set of capabilities, or the ability to order a T-shirt or something along those lines. I don't know. All sorts of things that we could potentially do with Washboard now as its own separate host while it's managing OTP hosts. So I like that. Jordan, I plan to hit you up about the training stuff again, all the things you did with Kata Coda last time with the new OTP release, but I'll follow up with that offline. Any other issues, or David, Stewart, anything you guys want to bring up around the work you guys are driving through?
Only that we recognize it's lower priority than the current release work that you're doing, and we totally get that. So we really don't want to get in the way of that. So we'll always take a back seat.
Well, from our deadlines perspective, you guys have the 10th for it to turn in your talk, right? Your recording.
Yeah.
And we don't have to get the on-prem talks in until the 1st, and we only have to give copies of the decks. So I don't have I'm fine if we're doing some stunt hacking. Wait, stunt hacking. Was that the term used to try to get this out the door? from a priority perspective on our side. You know, I mean, because I want your demo to be amazing because it's being driven by a big end user. So that feels like actually the right priority to me is let's follow what the customers are actually asking for from a community perspective. Any disagreement, Steve, Kevin, looking to you guys, Brooks?
No disagreement.
No.
So I think you guys are top priority. Let's get you guys out the door and get that demo awesome for the recording on the 10th. And even if we slip dates back a week, we got plenty of time to do, you know, an announcement before KubeCon and then sailing into KubeCon with, you know, a new version that's out, and probably give us a little more time to get documentation policed up and think about updating the interactive tutorials. I've always been impressed with how many people go through those, you know, but we have regular engagement of, 20 to up to 100 hours a week of people just clicking through those tutorials and actually, you know, learning how to use it. And, you know, it's evidenced by, you know, people just showing up on Slack and, you know, other talks and things like that, that people are actually using this stuff. So I think the investments in the stuff that scales independent of our efforts are totally worth it from a priority perspective. All right. Last call. Anything else? Open floor. I'm going to go and stop recording. We can hang out.